Okay, Brandy, I want to show you the difference between an 8 frame and the 10 frame. Now, let me start with this. This is how the beehives are typically laid out in a Langstroth. Now, this is a deep, deep box here. This is a medium. There's one more different size, but I don't have it. It's called a shallow. It's a honey super. How they're typically set up is 2 of these typically are on the bottom, and that's what's called the brood box. The brood boxes is where, of course, the queen lays the eggs. Typically, there's 2 deep. This is what's heavy, this deep one. What you do, though, is you don't really move them about. So the honey ones are the heavy ones when you go and you take them into the house. That's where you run into the heavy part. What I meant by the 8 frame versus the 10 frame is, again, you have 2 less frames in this one. So imagine this was your 8 frame setup, but of course your bottom one would be the deep box, so it'd be just a little bit taller. I just don't have one in here right now. It'd be a deep box. And then what some folks do to keep everything light is they just have one deep box on the bottom for the babies, and then they go all with mediums to keep it lighter. And they do it in 8 frame because you have 2 less frames in here. And I have 2 of them in my apiary this past year, and I'll have 3 of them in my apiary because I like the lighter. I keep more boxes, but they're lighter. So inside of these, you'll have frames, and I have one here with wax on it. This is the only one I have with wax. But you would have 10 of these in the bottom of a 10 frame, and then 8 of them in the bottom of the 8 frame. And again, this box gets heavy, but what you do is, like, you're not really going to do much with this box or the next box up. They're going to stay stationary because that's where the babies are going to be. That's where the queen's going to lay all the eggs in those. It's when you get on top of that you have honey. The honey boxes get heavy. So what you do is you just take an extra box down when you're collecting your honey. And so a medium honey super could weigh about, for an 8 frame, could weigh about 30 pounds. So what I do is, if I don't want to carry that all up the hill, I just take extra boxes with me. I might only get like 4 of these frames out, or 5, and then say, okay, that's all I want to carry. And I'll carry that up, and I'll bring it back, and I'll get the other ones out too. So these are they're nice. They are a little bit heavy, but it's only if you have to do the honey. I mean, that's when it gets heavy, and there's ways around it where you don't have to break your back. Now, I'm not discouraging with Top Bar. Top Bar is great, and I think that's it's a whole different method too. If you don't have a bee supplier in your area, just be wary of have all the equipment that you're going to need, because if you need something, even with the Langstroths, if you need something and there's not a bee store close by, it's harder to get equipment. And it's the same with the Top Bar too. Make sure you have all your equipment. So I just want to throw those options out there for you. This is the Langstroth system, and if it warms up a little bit tomorrow, I'll go down to my apiary and I will show you how I have set up, and I'll show you my 8 frame versus my 10 frame down in the apiary. I hope this helps out a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions.